Accessible art, tailor-made. Can creative offerings be tailored so that they fit anyone? Hi, I'm Dr. K.P. McKee, founder and executive director of a Spacious Place Creativity and Spirituality Center. And as we share today's offerings, we would love to hear from you. You can enter any comments or questions you might have into the comment box on your mobile device or on your computer. Here is a basic belief of a Spacious Place. Everyone is creative. Not only is everyone creative, but everyone needs to create in order to reach their human potential. You are creative, and you need to create to reach your human potential. I have heard from several people that they believe they are not creative, but I think we have often been told that by someone who understood creativity in a very limited way. I know we are all creative because we choose the way that we attire ourselves, the way we decorate our homes or our workspaces, the way we plate a meal. Creativity is a very broad concept, and it's also a very human concept. And we, as a Spacious Place for the past 15 years, have been tailoring creative options to populations that do not have easy access to creative offerings for whatever reasons. Sometimes it's financial or educational limitations. Sometimes it's physical or cognitive challenges. And we believe because creativity is so very important, that it's important enough to adapt it to various populations so that they have an opportunity to do what is so human and needed for all of us. So I thought, because in 2020 we all did a lot of adapting, that looking at ways that we have adapted for the populations we serve might help you find a way first to adapt for your own creative needs, but also if you are serving a population that you want to have meet their creative needs, these are some ideas that you could use as well. And for each session I'm going to be using one of the projects that we either took and adapted from somewhere else or created for our communities and kind of walk you through how we did each one of those. So here are some basic ways that we can tailor make as if we are tailors and we are measuring and cutting and sizing for each person we serve, how we can tailor make our offerings. And for this, I'm using as example these little finger puppets that we found on Pinterest and then adapted to the folks we serve. And I have some examples here that I'll share with you in a little bit. First of all, it's very important for us to use accessible language for what we're doing. And that means thinking about who we're serving. We talked about empathy in these past few weeks. Being empathetic, standing in these other people's shoes and thinking, how do I communicate with them in a way that is accessible to them? So here's just one thing that we do. We make instructions that we put on the tables, and they are both in English and in Spanish. So that we do English and Spanish because those are largely the groups that we serve. We also work with some folks who are either hearing impaired or deaf. So in that case, we try to find basic ASL signs for whatever we are doing for the day. Thankfully, when you're creating visual art, it's a lot miming, so that helps with that. But like finger and then puppets for finger puppets. You'll also notice that there are photos here. That is for our non-readers and our pre-readers, so they can look at the pictures and it'll take them step by step through the process. In addition, we are there one-on-one. This was more challenging when we did it via Zoom, but we managed, we adapted. We like it better now that we are one-on-one with folks and we can show them. And we are going to adapt again. Where we can take them, we can answer questions, say, what do I need to explain better? How can I help? But to only help when we are asked to do so. So here are some examples of our little finger puppets, because the next one is accessible inspiration. And we try with everything we do to have a concrete example of what we are doing, not for our participants to copy, but to be a springboard, a booster, a priming the pump, whatever metaphor you want to use, for their own creative process. Because we're not believers in the put slot tab A into slot B kind of creativity. We want it to come from people's own souls and be their own creative expressions. So here are just some examples of our little finger puppets. We always explain first off the bat that these may look like eyes, but these are all actually finger holes, so your puppet can go for a walk. And here's one. Here's one. This is a very popular one. And here's one. And that is another piece of inspiration. We try to think about the people we're serving and think, what are they interested in? Where do we start with them where we already have an interest going and we can build on something that already matters to them? We get lots of use of the minions here. And then last but definitely not least is accessible supplies. So we think in advance about who we are serving, at what level do we need to prep the supplies so that they can have a positive experience with their own creativity. We want always to challenge without overly frustrating. And sometimes we don't do very well with that. We try to learn from the mistakes that we've made and refit and learn from that experience and move forward. Because learning for all of us is about trying, making mistakes, learning from our mistakes, and moving forward. So with that in mind, sometimes we do a lot of preparation ahead of time, and sometimes we leave a lot more to the people depending on their level of confidence in themselves and their prior experiences. One of the things that we often do with people who are a little uncertain and unsure is templates that they can then take, trace around onto colored paper and cut out. And you can see these have gotten a lot of use and love. These are the ones we use with the finger puppets. Here are some ears. So that was hats and wings. Some more ears. And we added horns because people were wanting to do some finger puppet monsters. So you can think about that too, some ways that you can prepare some things that are just ways to get people going for their own creative process so that it feels, we all know how it feels to try something that feels so scary. And we get into our lizard brain and we're not thinking at our highest level, but if it's broken down and we have accessible materials to get started with, we think, you know what? I think I can give this a try. And so that is the last thing I want to talk about as far as supplies is that we hand out supplies in a step-by-step method so that we don't confuse people by them wondering, well, what am I going to do with this thing over here before it's actually needed. So as I showed you with the instructions, they are step-by-step. We do a step at a time. Then it feels like, okay, I did this first thing. Now what do I do next? And so we don't confuse by having so many supplies out ahead of time that everyone feels overwhelmed and overstimulated. So those are some ways just to get you started with thinking about tailor-making art for yourself. And also if you're going to provide it for someone who needs a little extra help just getting started. And if you have found this helpful, we hope you'll like it on Facebook. Also, you can rewatch it on Facebook, on YouTube, or on our website, www.aspaciousplace.com. And I hope you'll share this with anyone you think might find it helpful. And we'll be back on August the 1st with another offering that we do and ways that we make it accessible in hopes that that will be helpful to you and the people you work with. So let's close with prayer. Thank you, Creator God, for the creativity that is in all of us. Help us find ways to bring it out and celebrate it. Amen.